Hello, my lovely wannabe entrepreneurs. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, the Wannabe Entrepreneur Podcast, the one and only. I don't even know when was the last time we spoke because I am in, as you know, holidays, or at least this mixed state of holidays and work. I guess it's how a digital nomad might feel, right? Because you're traveling, but at the same time you're working. So I guess it's just like this new kind of lifestyle where your life, like work life and personal life, gets a little bit intertwined. But anyways, I kind of lost a little bit track of time. But I believe we spoke on like Tuesday or Wednesday. So it's been maybe close to a week. I have been traveling through Germany. I am now in Berlin. And I'm still not using my home setup, so the sound might be a little bit dodgy, let's call it this way, but hopefully it's good enough and you can properly listen to this. Anyways, next week we'll be back to the original setup and we'll be back to normal. In this episode, I didn't schedule anything that I want to talk about properly. I'm sorry for that. It's just too chaotic for me to be able to sit down and organize my thoughts, but there's a lot of things going on, right? I'm in Berlin now, and Berlin is kind of the place of the indie hackers of life, not only web, our kind of indie hackers, but as you know, I consider artists and musicians and everyone that is somehow their own boss, entrepreneurs, because I think you always need to do a little bit of marketing. You always need to do a lot of things that are kind of similar. You know, we are all indie hackers in our core, let's say. So yeah, a lot of thoughts around that. And of course, PodSqueeze has been my main focus. So I'll be sharing a little bit about that. Been a roller coaster, really. So there's really good things going on and things that are not so good, and I want to share all of that with you. So that's kind of what I have set up for today. Sorry about that. That's what I have set up for today's episodes. And just sit down, relax, and let's get started with another Wannabe Entrepreneur episode. Our life is a bubble, or rather, we live in a bubble. We often don't notice because quite often our bubble is big, it's quite big, so that you don't see its limits, right? It's like our planet Earth. When you live in an island, for instance, and maybe some of you live or experience living in an island, you know the limits, right? Especially if it's a small island, you know that there are limits and that you are surrounded by the ocean. And I don't know, for instance, in Portugal, our islands, there are a few that you can cross the island in maybe 1 hour or so by car. So you know that you are confined to a specific area. There's limits. However, if you live in a big country or if you live in the continent, quite often you don't really know what the limits are, right? Until at least you explore them. Most of the people did not travel a lot. I know that the new generation now, for us, it's easier to travel. It's affordable. There are planes super fast that basically connect different countries faster than trains. It's faster to come to Germany by plane than, for instance, to cross Portugal by car, right? So now our notions of borders and limits are kind of changing, but at the same time, for us, in our human scale, it feels that we are borderless, or rather that we don't see the limits of our Earth, of our planet, and as well of our community, of our bubble. Often you surround yourself with people that do the exact same as you. So people that generally make more or less the same kind of money, had similar education, they have similar beliefs, and we tend to exclude people that do not see eye to eye in with us, with our life perspective, right? So I think a fallacy that all of us make is that we assume that we are all the same, and the ones that are not doing the same as us, they are wrong. And of course that this is a huge misconception. One thing that I've been noticing a lot, really a lot, since I become an indie hacker, is that there is different lifestyles, right? And the most common lifestyle, at least in Europe, is the, I don't have a name for it, but like, let's call it the traditional lifestyle, which is you basically study, then you get a job, and you work your 9 to 5, you work 5 days a week, and all of your life, or most of your life, surrounds work. That's what you talk about with your friends. That's where your frustrations are, where your happiness is as well. Everything is somehow surrounded work. We mold our life around it. And we assume that this is the only way. This is the only way to do so. This is the only way to live, basically. We have work. We have our like 5 days week, and then we have 2 days of weekend, and then if we're lucky, we have some holidays. If you're really lucky, you get more than 30 days. Most of the times you get less, and you get a raise, and then eventually you get to retire. And we kind of assume that this is how it has always been, and as like what everyone is doing. And that's not true. This actually reminds me of a very interesting YouTube video that I watched from a channel. I think it's actually a German channel, but they dubbed it in English, and it's really good. It's called PodSqueeze. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend for you to go and check it out. They have like videos from multiple areas, since like aliens and where are all the aliens kind of stuff, and veganism, and about life, everything. And they speak about a concept that I never thought, but it's really true, which is, in our brain, humans are really good in assuming that if everything, or if a certain situation happened for enough time, we assume that it will always happen. So, a very simple example. Every day, the sun goes up, right? We see the sun, and every night it goes down. It's recurrent. And if I ask you if the sun will rise tomorrow, you'll say yes. But why are you saying yes? Like, most of the times you don't even understand. I mean, okay, we learned in school how the sun works, but most of the times we don't even think about it. We just assume that the sun will go up tomorrow because yesterday and the day before and the day before the sun was up. But that might not be true, right? Necessarily tomorrow won't be the same as yesterday. In this YouTube video from PodSqueeze, they speak about the dinosaur extinction, as every day was similar for millions of years, and then suddenly, boom, everything changes from one day to the other. That's why as well, when this happens to us, right? When everything changes, when there is a disruptive change in our life, it's really hard for us to accept it. Either a death on someone that is close to us, or whenever a breakup or a catastrophe, it's really hard, and it shocks us so much because it gets us off guard. So it's hard for us to assume, going back a little bit to what I was saying, it's hard for us to assume that there can be other ways of living. Because if I live like this, and my friends live like this, and my family lives like this, and everyone around me lives like this, it's hard for us to assume that there's other ways of living life. Until you change it, until you change your lifestyle, right? So when I started being an indie hacker, when I started this whole thing, I tried my best, and I still do, to somehow do not get out of our bubble, of this bubble of 9 to 5. So most of us, I don't know if you are the same, but we still try to work from Monday to Friday. On weekends, we just try to rest. We try to do the 8 hours work, which is something really interesting. For me, if you ask me what is a productive day, I always go back to these 8 hours. Okay, if I worked 8 hours, then I was productive, which it doesn't make sense if you think about it. Like 8 hours is such an arbitrary number, right? Someone just created it, but actually maybe you are productive with 5 hours or with 10 hours, whatever. So I kind of been realizing, and it took me a while, that now I'm in this different lifestyle. A lifestyle where I don't have a regular income. It's not that it's not sure how much money I'll get by the end of the month. A lifestyle where work does not come as structured, right? So I might be working for a month straight, no breaks, no weekends, and then I can take a break, or I can just travel. Right now I'm in Berlin, and I'm here in this mixture of like I'm working a little bit, and I'm with my friends, and which I was about to say my family, which, you know, friends are the family that you pick, right? So this is a different style of living. It's a different lifestyle, and that's why sometimes it's so hard for me to fit in and to understand. And I feel bad if I'm working long hours, but at the same time I feel that I need to do it because I'm trying my best to stay in the same bubble, you know, and still live and be indie hacker. What is really cool about Berlin, and if you've been here and if you've been in Germany and you understand a little bit of German culture, everyone says that Berlin is not Germany. It's a different place. And the moment you come here, first time you come here, you come for tourism and you go to like Checkpoint Charlie and all of these places. But that's actually the most uninteresting part of Berlin. The most interesting part of Berlin is that everyone is here really exploring different lifestyles. If you want to come and see what it feels like to have a different lifestyle, you'll come to Berlin because you'll see everything. You'll see artists basically playing in everywhere, right? Yesterday I went to open mic bar where basically people come, they sign up and they sing, they play. And it's really interesting because most of the people are really amateur. I mean, they're okay, but they were nothing special, and they had very alternative music. And we are so used to see only the pros performing because we know that it's so hard to accomplish that we only see the ones that already got it, right? But it's really hard to see the people getting there because they either get discouraged or, I don't know, a lot of them, they never get to be known, right? But the cool thing about this open mic experience was that, yeah, they were just not that good. I'm not saying that I'm a great musician, far from it, but it seems that like if I would get a guitar and practice a little bit, I could just go there and perform. And there's actually people, like tons of people were there to support you, to watch you. And it's so interesting to see this. It's so interesting to see that this different lifestyle is acceptable because a lot of these people, they don't have jobs, right? A lot of them, they try to pursue this dream and they make a little bit of money and they go and they try to live this way. And the same you'll find like crazy art, different modern art and projects and entrepreneurs and everything. And it's acceptable. That's the cool thing about it. Like people, since this is like this soup of multiple lifestyles, when you see someone doing something that for you is crazy, you just accept it. You just say, hey, this is Berlin. And you just go on with your life. That's something that attracts me about this city. There's a lot of other things that do not attract me, but this is something that attracts me about this city. Now, what I've been doing, right? This coming on this kind of holiday, and I don't know if in the end of this 2.5 weeks that I've been here in Germany, if I'll feel more relaxed or not. Because I'm still kind of thinking about work, and I know that I should be working, and I'm working less, obviously. But at the same time, I think it's important because I get to relax and train my social skills and be more with my friends because it seems that we just lost it. With COVID, I don't know if you feel the same, but it seems that we are just, it's harder for us to meet and get out of our comfort zone and just go out. And for me, I was really feeling tired after this, and it was awkward for me. I was going with my friends and friends that I've known for ages, but still it was a little bit awkward. Like, what should we talk about? I was nervous if there was no things to talk about, and now I'm much more chilled, after like almost 2 weeks doing this. So that's something that is also interesting, and something that I wanted to do, so I'm really happy with it. At the same time, we have been launching PodSqueeze, as you know. And even though that, so there's good things and bad things. Let me start with the bad things. João and I have been talking, right, through messages. We had like 1 or 2 occasional calls. And as you know, our approach is try something. If it works, continue. If it doesn't work, try another one. Like, don't spend too much time with it. So every week, in the end of the week, we have a call and we say, like, shall we give it 1 more week or not? This past week, since we launched PodSqueeze, no one subscribed to our paid version. And then you might think, okay, if no one subscribed, then it's maybe time to quit, right? Because you've done it, and it's already bringing value, it's already solving the problem. If there was a problem that people were willing to pay for, they would have already. And I agree with you. That's exactly what I thought, and that's what I told João. But at the same time, we are witnessing something that we have never witnessed before with other projects, with Indie Lottery, with the community, with everything. There is a lot of attention around AI products. So it's really easy to bring people. Just for you to understand, we launched it in a bunch of places, Reddit and so on, and we got immediately like 300 people coming to the website, and it just continues. Like yesterday or in the last 24 hours, we had another 40 people, and we are doing nothing. It's just like Google is picking us up, and a bunch of newsletters are picking us up, and it's really easy. So I can clearly see that this is a good market so far. There's attention. People want to see it. At the same time, we already got more than 80 signups. So imagine roughly a week, 80 signups. People just want to sign up and try it. They give their emails, and they want to try it, and I think probably we have converted more than 60 or 70 episodes. So there is people interested in this. And at the same time, we're also getting feedback. So we already got some messages from users, and they were like, hey, I love your product. Can you just tweak this? They asked us to introduce the upload feature, because so far you can use your RSS ID, but this means that you first need to upload and publish your podcast episode, and then you can use our tool. So a lot of people want to do this before. They already told us, hey, Thiago, if you implement this, I'll pay. So I've been a little bit anxious because I want to implement this, but I don't have time, and this is actually not an easy feature. I realized I have to change a little bit the architecture of the application and so on. But yeah, we decided to give it 1 more week just for this, just because of this, because there's a lot of traffic, and people already told us that this is solving the problem, that they like the product, that we just need to tweak it a little bit. So that's basically what we decided to do. We kind of had a call and said, okay, what are we going to do? Implement the upload feature. We are going to teach people how they can use our resources and create blog posts around it. Hopefully this will also help with SEO. And we will basically also send a message to everyone that signed up, because already more than 80 people sign up. So we should collect their feedback, understand if they like it, if they don't like it. At the same time, we already also got not so positive feedback. Some podcasters that I know, they kind of said, yeah, this is cool, but I'm not really sure if I can use it. I already have my process. Even myself with this podcast, I use it, but there's still a bunch of assets that I don't know how to use, like the timestamps, the newsletter. I think, yeah, maybe now I can create a newsletter, but at the same time, how do I do this? I don't know how to do it. So for me, it's really important if I am using my own product, because the moment I stop using it, I know that maybe this is wrong, but it kind of discouraged me, because if I am not using my product, how can I convince you to use it as well, right? So yeah, that's been what's been happening with PodSqueeze, and as I told you, we gave it 1 more week. This week I'll focus, hopefully implement the upload feature and get some feedback and try to get our first clients. That would be ideal. Because at the same time, I have been spending a lot of money as well. especially if you go out and like eat out or like go for some drinks, it's so expensive. And my MRR is not, it's not great. Actually, my MRR, I think, is low. It's like the whole time low now, because the community, I've been focusing too much and is not making too much money. I didn't get any sponsor for the podcast, unfortunately, at least this month, even though I sent a bunch of messages. So it really feels like I'm going back. It's a bit crazy, but it's been 1 year and 7 months or something since I started, and it seems that I'm actually now doing worse. And it's a weird feeling. And I know it's because I have this new strategy, right? The strategy of trying multiple projects really fast. And for that, it means that I have to somehow focus less in other projects, right? I don't know if you remember, but there was a time where I was every day trying to sell the community, trying to sell new subscriptions, and this was a lot of work, and it was not paying off. I don't believe it was a long-term strategy, but obviously I was getting more money than now. So I'm now actually getting worse, and I see everyone around me and people in the community and the indie hackers community in general, seeing them growing, and it seems that I'm going in the opposite direction. It's scary. It's definitely scary to do that. At the same time, I think it's necessary to do it, to reset a little bit the clock and try something new. And I know that this means that the MRR will reduce a little bit. So now from my projects, I believe this month I made around probably $300. And in total, I made $800 because of the freelancing. So again, freelancing is really important. It's something that I recommend other makers to try, not to fill their schedule with freelancing, not at all, but have these little projects that somehow boost your MRR and extend your runway. I think that's really important, not only for your financial health, but as well for your mental health. So even though my MRR is somehow lower than, not ever, but than the past months, I still feel very confident, and I feel that I am in the right path, because now I have learned a lot and I'm applying what I've learned in my project. So I'm really happy with that, and I will just continue with this strategy and as well continue with the freelancing, because I think it's a good match. It's a good match what I have going on here. I'll be in Berlin the rest of the week. And it's a bit weird, because at the same time I want to do a lot of stuff, right? Because I'm here. A lot of my friends are here as well. They live here. And I want to enjoy that to the maximum. But at the same time, there's two things happening, right? First of all, the work. And I feel a little bit anxious when I am not able to commit and do the things I wanted to do. And second of all of them are also working, right? So there's an extra effort from my side to get them to do stuff, right? Because they are tired. It's normal, right? They are tired. They have their daily jobs and they go home and they just want to chill, especially it's super cold outside. So they just want to be cozy at home watching Netflix or something, which I totally understand. But at the same time, I only have this week, right? So this means that I'm trying to save some of my energy and my time to plan ahead, think, what do I want to do? Okay, let's try new things. I'm in Berlin, and so there's a lot of goals for this week, for sure. Besides my professional goals, also my personal goals. And I want to experience whatever I can from Berlin, because this is a very, as I said, unique city, a city where people just don't care too much. You don't feel as observed or judged by society around, because there's so many different people here that people are just used to this. They don't judge you, they just ignore it and they just accept it. And that feels so great. It really feels great. And I feel that somehow part of me fits in here, because as an indie hacker, it's quite normal to just say, I'm doing this, and no one really judges, no one asks questions, because a lot of people here are also entrepreneurs or artists and everything around that. So what I have planned so far is I want to go to an open mic pitch, which is really cool. So basically people go there and they just pitch their startup. Who knows? Maybe I'll pitch PodSqueeze. Maybe. probably not, but I just want to go there and see these people pitching their ideas. I think that will be really, really fun, and probably will meet different kinds of people. And besides that, going to concerts, there's a lot of concerts of like small bands playing, so we'll probably also do that and really explore. And if I'm able to as well, try to go to coffee places and work from there and really experience the city. But at the same time, of course, not judge myself, not put too much pressure into that, because I also know that I have to work, and to work, I just need my laptop and silence and focus time. Yeah, that's basically it. That's basically what I have planned. For you, the listener, I have 2 talks or 2 interviews that I scheduled. I think they will be really cool. They scheduled that I already recorded. I think you will really enjoy them. And again, it's just taking a little bit of time to properly edit everything. But once it's done, hopefully next week I'll go back and have more time to focus on the editing of those interviews. They'll be out, and then you can listen to them and learn a lot about indie hacking. That will be really cool. If you like this podcast, what can you do? You already know, right? Share it with all of your friends. That's really, really important. And as well, you can become a supporter of the podcast. It's $10 per month. And by doing so, you join our community of indie makers from literally all over the world. You'll find and meet makers from literally everywhere. And you get the support that you need. And a lot of our makers started with 0 MRR, and now they are making almost 2K, 3K MRR. So there is a growth, and people are learning with each other, and you have literally people from all stages. So that's really important. And you can also support this podcast by becoming a sponsor, and I will feature your indie product here, speak about it, get some attention into it. Probably you'll get as well some feedback, and by doing so, you are also supporting this podcast. So these are the ways that you can support it, and hopefully you will do so. And that is it for today's Wannabe Entrepreneur episode. See you next time. My friend has a cat, which is super cute, but my hand's a little bit scratched.